Hey everyone, it's me again, Joseph, your host, and welcome back to our channel and the Catechism for Kids. Today, on November 23rd, we're talking about a truly amazing future saint, Blessed Miguel Agustín Pro. Have you ever heard of a martyr who faced death with a smile, stretched out his arms like Jesus on the cross, and shouted, "Long live Christ the King"? That's exactly what Father Miguel Pro did, and his story is one of incredible joy, courage, and faith. So, who was this remarkable priest? Miguel Agustín Pro was born in Mexico way back in 1891. As a kid, he was full of life. He was known for being a bit of a jokester with a great sense of humor, and he loved telling stories and making people laugh. He also had a deep faith from a very young age. He was especially close to his sister, and they made a pact. He would become a Jesuit priest, and she would become a nun. And guess what? They both kept that promise. To understand Father Pro's story, we need to understand what was happening in Mexico at the time. When Miguel was born, the government had laws that were against the Catholic Church. For a while, the president let the church operate freely. But when Miguel was 20, things started to get unstable. In 1911, the same year he joined the Jesuits to begin his training as a priest, political chaos erupted. Just a few years later, in 1914, a new leader came to power and began persecuting Catholics again. The place where Miguel was studying was shut down, and he had to flee the country to continue his training. He went to the United States, then to Spain, and finally to Belgium, where he was ordained a priest in 1925. Even though he was far from home, sick at times, and worried about his country, he kept his heart focused on God. He once wrote about his ordination day, saying he couldn't hold back the tears of joy when he finally became a priest. While Father Miguel was away, the situation in Mexico got much worse for Catholics. A new constitution in 1917 put even stricter rules on the church. Religious schools were shut down, and public worship was banned outside of church buildings. The government took church property, and priests were stripped of their rights, with many foreign priests being kicked out of the country. Then, in 1926, a new president named Plutarco, alias Cales, came to power, and the persecution became incredibly intense. He enforced a new law, often called the Cales Law, which made things even harder. All public worship was outlawed, all remaining church property was taken, and even private religious education was forbidden. This terrible situation led to a revolt by many faithful Catholics known as the Cristero War. Their battle cry was Viva Cristo Rey, Viva la Virgen de Guadalupe, which means long live Christ the King, long live the Virgin of Guadalupe. From Belgium, the newly ordained Father Miguel could only pray for his people. But he knew he had to do more. He came up with a daring plan. He would return to Mexico and carry out a secret ministry. Since he had never served as a priest in Mexico, he hoped no one would recognize him. He would disguise himself as a well-dressed businessman, a mechanic, or even a beggar to avoid being caught. He arrived back in Mexico in July 1926 and went straight to Mexico City. He immediately began his secret work. His joyful personality and good humor were a source of great comfort to people who were living in fear. He celebrated Mass in secret homes, heard confessions, and brought the sacraments to the faithful, always on the move to avoid the authorities. He was like a spiritual secret agent for God. He was once arrested because the police thought he had attached gospel messages to hundreds of balloons and released them over the city, but they let him go because they couldn't prove it. He went back into hiding, but soon continued his secret ministry. Less than a year later, in November 1927, there was an assassination attempt on a former president. The authorities traced the car used in the attack to one of Father Miguel's brothers, even though he had nothing to do with it. The police moved in and arrested Father Miguel and his two brothers, even though another man confessed to the crime and said the Pro brothers were innocent. President Cales ordered their execution without a trial. President Cales thought he could scare the Cristeros into giving up. He ordered that the execution be photographed and published in all the newspapers. He wanted to make an example of Father Pro. On November 23, 1927, Father Miguel Pro was led from his cell into the courtyard. The firing squad was waiting. A photographer was there to capture every moment. The pictures show a man who was not afraid. He knelt and prayed. He refused a blindfold. He faced his executioners and told them, "May God have mercy on you. May God bless you. Lord, you know that I am innocent. With all my heart I forgive my enemies." Then he stood up, stretched his arms out wide like Jesus on the cross, holding a rosary in one hand and a crucifix in the other. In a loud, clear voice, he shouted his final words, "Viva Cristo Rey." The shots rang out. President Cales's plan completely backfired. When the people of Mexico saw the photographs in the newspaper the next day, they weren't scared. They were inspired. They saw a brave priest who joyfully gave his life for Christ, the King. An estimated 40,000 people lined the streets for his funeral procession, and about 20,000 prayed at his burial. This is why, on his feast day, the liturgical color is red. It represents the blood of martyrs who die for their faith. Blessed Miguel Pro's story teaches us that holiness isn't sad or boring. It's brave, it's creative, and it's filled with joy. He shows us that even in the darkest, scariest times, we can trust Jesus completely. We can let God's love shine through us with boldness and courage. He chose to forgive his enemies and hope in God, right up to his last breath. Shortly before he died, Blessed Miguel wrote this beautiful prayer in his journal. "I believe, O Lord, but strengthen my faith. Heart of Jesus, I love thee, but increase my love. Heart of Jesus, I trust in thee, but give greater vigor to my confidence. Heart of Jesus, I give my heart to thee, but so enclose it in thee that it may never be separated from thee." What an incredible hero of our faith. Blessed Miguel Agustín Pro, pray for us. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. I hope you are as inspired by this story as I am. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel for more stories of the saints, and we'll see you next time. Take care, everyone. Stay safe and healthy as usual. May the Lord bless and keep you always.